most daredevil group of daffy drivers to ever whirl their wheels in the wacky races, competing for the title of the world's wackiest racer. The cars are approaching the starting line. First is the Turbo Terrific, driven by Peter Perfect. Next, Rufus Roughcut and Sawtooth in the Buzz Wagon. Maneuvering for position is the Army Surplus Special. Right behind is the Ant Hill Mob in their bulletproof bomb. And there's ingenious inventor, Pat Pending in his converter car.
Wait. So, it's like a race?
A race? He's a race! I hope I win.
Funimation got everything this season.
They're really, fucking rolling them in. Is this a Pokemon theme?
Yep. Whoa, it's America!
Lol, true. Transamerica.
Wow, trans across America.
This must be the future when the transgenders have taken over the country. I'm digging the rat race going on.
Is this Redline?
A Redline and series would be fun. That's a guy.
That's a dude.
Nice. I feel like a kid again. thinking anime boys or girls. Oh, this kid looks like ass. What the fuck's going on with him?
Oh, man.
That kid's a clusterfuck.
That's pretty tragic. That's very reminiscent of the kid in fucking Shinjuku Night Raid or whatever that was. That weird Mexican child.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Demon City Shinjuku.
Demon City Shinjuku.
Yeah. I mean, I am fucking loving this fucking
The
demolition
variety
derby
of
shit.
that's going on.
Oh shit.
I said yes in Fort Lauderdale.
The aesthetics here are just like all over the place. It's like a
There is a lot happening.
It's like a 1930s New York, but in the desert.
Yeah. I mean, you know, just like real New York.
What the fuck?
Awesome.
My fucking ninja segue. Whoa, there's like cowboys and
You got
samurai.
a lot going on, dude.
Man, what the fuck is happening in this show?
Whoa.
Whoa.
Oh my god.
I really hope this is like.
Those lyrics really were just I don't give a fuck.
Nice.
Did you hear that?
I'm hoping this
That
is
was
like
excellent.
PA Works' response to Cannon Busters, because I fucking hated Cannon Busters, and this kind of has a similar aesthetic in terms of being a clusterfuck western.
I guess that's not true. Or not wrong.
Yeah. Okay, we're in Japan now.
Now we are in Nihon.
Alrighty, we just watched Appare-ranman.
Appare-ranman.
Weird.
Definitely a little unusual.
Strange, interesting. Certainly the strangest thing we've watched so far this season. So this is an original series by PA Works.
Yes.
PA Works is all over the board in terms
They're
of what
everywhere.
the quality of their shit. They'll put out some weird stuff. They tend to do a lot of anime originals.
Yeah.
Which is strange. I love them as a studio, partially because we saw them at Otakon, and they put out surveys and stuff, like asking their fans what they want out of the studio and what we think they should keep doing.
Yeah.
Both of us voted for Uchoten Kazoku Season 2 and for more adult contemporary sort of stories. Which,
well, to give people context, it was like that was the point in time when they were gearing towards an American audience.
Yeah.
They had just released Kuromukuro.
Yeah.
No one remembers that show because it was shit.
Like, they literally, at Otakon, they were saying, like, we want to, like, Shirobako was a surprise success in the West, and we don't understand why, because we didn't see it coming. And then they made Kuromukuro trying to appeal to the West, and it
everyone
didn't
was
at
like,
all.
this sucks.
So, like, they were perplexed, because they thought that was going to be their big show, and Shirobako ended up being a big thing. And so they were like, what the fuck is happening?
They didn't understand what because they think American audiences want to see action and explosions and fighting.
So, like, they're a very strange studio because you know they're trying to appeal to the West, and they can't seem to figure out...
They can't quite hit the sweet spot.
Yeah, like, what
or
they should be doing.
they can't parse what it is that's
Yeah.
appealing about their shows that do make it big.
And then it was super ironic because shortly after that convention where we, both of us were talking about Uchota and Kazoku on their surveys and stuff, they put out Uchota and Kazoku Season 2, which was like, oh, sick! They're doing what the fans wanted. They surveyed the fans, and the fans clearly wanted more of that, but then it was like this weird...
And then we didn't
odd
like
continuation of what it originally was, and we didn't like Season 2, and then it was like, well... We didn't want that.
Yeah.
We wanted more like Uchota and Kazoku, but not more Uchota and Kazoku, you know? Because the first season was fine the way it was. But anyways, so I digress. Getting onto this one, PA Works, you never know what you're getting. And this one, I certainly have no idea what to expect. So this, it has a cold open where you are clearly in America. There's American flags everywhere. And then they're gearing up for a Wacky Races style race.
Yes.
And you're
race
seeing,
across America.
Yeah, there's
Transcontinental.
Transcontinental. You're seeing all sorts of different styles of people from different nationalities and like different styles of car. And you're like, okay, Wacky Races, I get that. You're introduced to the main character and you're like, what the fuck is this aesthetic? I have no idea what I'm looking at. The character designs are fucking wacky. And then... like, it's off to the races, opening theme starts, and then we're in Japan.
Yeah.
So
But,
most
like,
of the rest of the episode...
Japan.
Yeah, we're in... Well, so this takes place after the feudal period, at the start of, I think, the Meiji era. Because he talks about the new
government switching
Western... Yeah,
over.
the government changing over and the Western technology coming in.
isolation
So that
ending.
was... Yeah, the Warring States period ended... So this is the same time period as Rurouni Kenshin and stuff like that.
So somewhere out there, Kenshin's running around murdering dudes.
Yeah, so Kenshin, I believe, there were starting to introduce stuff like trains, there were Gatling guns and stuff. Like that show had a lot of introduction of Western technology. Same with Samurai Champloo is in the same time period with, they have a big episode about baseball because that's when...
And weed.
Yeah, because that was a big period of Western influence and technology finally making its way into Japan because they were becoming open. After the Warring States, they had an established national government. They became more open with foreign entities. And that was the great fucking Western exploration time we were making our way over. Like, so it goes to that era of Japan. Our main guy, Appare, is, He's in this village. They don't like him because he's like an eccentric inventor. He's kind of a fuckboy.
Yeah.
I feel like, was it meant to be implied that he was just kind of a disruption to the order of society?
I think because his experiments go awry and cause chaos, and this is to the displeasure of the Lord in this area.
I feel like there's maybe something underlying there where like the government
is the
doesn't
son
want
of like
him
a
around.
different
Yeah.
lord. You
Like
know?
there's some political
Shenanigans.
underlying shit there. Even though I don't think we're necessarily going to go back to Japan because
it seems like the point of the show is them getting back to Japan via doing this race.
Yeah, so there's the other main character, Kosame. I know his name because I'm reading it off the
Because
screen
you're literally
right now.
reading it.
But so he's a samurai boy. He's a good boy, and he's serving this lord. And he is tasked with retrieving Appare because they're trying to get him. Or he's like following him, something like that along those lines.
Basically, the Lord is like, listen, it's your job to keep this kid in line, and anything that he does, you're also going to be responsible for.
Yeah.
So you need to make sure he stops fucking up. And he's like, okay.
And so they end up coming together, and Appare is like, the police are all coming after him because he was put in jail for breaking into a house.
Yeah, he broke into an estate and fucked
and so
around.
he gets arrested. He breaks out of jail and hides back in his hideout where we kind of see that he's like this inventor. We get a little backstory of him and the other guy with his little gadgets and inventions. And he's an eccentric inventor. The police are coming after him. He decides he's going to escape on this steamboat that he created, which is like a hodgepodge of like boat parts and like a steam engine from a train. It's like he's just gotten whatever Western technology he could get his hands on and engineered this boat out of scraps, which is kind of his aesthetic style of like he's just getting random shit because he has the knowledge of how to do this stuff, but the technology is not all there in Japan for him to experiment
he's just
with.
now obtaining a lot of this technology because the borders are open.
Yeah, so he starts taking off on his boat. The other guy ends up grabbing onto the boat, and now they're on the boat together. And Appare is like, I know that there's another world on the other side of this fucking ocean because I've seen the boats come here. I'm gonna go to that other place. We're gonna cross the ocean together on this boat. And the other guy's just kind of like, I guess I'm dragged along for this.
I'm on this boat. I
guess I'm going on the cruise.
I sawed this boat in half.
All very strange presentation, strange directing.
I had a hard time kind of perceiving how much time had passed between them being like stranded at sea and then them showing up in America being towed by an American steamboat.
Yeah, so that's
it felt like it had been one night, but it couldn't have been.
Because there's a weird little montage, but he's etched like days into the wall. It seemed. Like, on the back of the boat, there was, like,
But there was only
etchings.
2 characters.
Yeah,
so I don't know what that means.
It's a little confusing. We don't know how far they got in crossing the ocean, but they are picked up by an American ship. And then they're on the ship. It's clear that they're like, working their way, being towed. Their ship is being towed. You got, what's-his-name, swabbing the deck and everything, while our main boy is like sort of discussing technologies with the crew members and like showing them little contraptions he's making. They seem very intrigued by his
ideas,
craftiness.
his devices.
Because I imagine they probably saw his boat and went, "What the fuck? You guys are Japanese and you made this fucking thing?" I don't know how they're communicating. Because,
that's a good question.
Like,
presumably they speak English.
Yeah, it's very clear that
they speak Japanese.
That these are canonically historical Japan and America.
Alternative history. All the same, though.
Like, when we're introduced in the beginning, everyone's speaking Japanese in America. Yeah. But, so they're riding on this boat, we get a little montage, and then they arrive in Los Angeles. The city of Los Angeles. So, I guess...
It just looks like a cowboy
that
town.
kind of places the time period... Because LA is developed, which means it's after cowboy sort of... Because I knew that cowboys and samurais were around the same time, which is a trip.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's pretty much a trip. Like, I think our westward expansion happened during the Warring States period. Like, it's fucking nuts. Because what's amazing to me about that period in history is that in America we had cowboys and western expansion. And in Japan, this is the Warring States period, which they love to portray in all of their media as, like, yokai were running around.
There was demons
and, like,
everywhere.
Demons are everywhere. This is the time period.
Murdering
so,
people.
At the same time as Neo, the main guy in Neo comes to Warring States, Japan, from, like, medieval England, because he's, like, an English knight. And apparently, like, cowboys were running around at the same time. I don't fucking know.
Everyone
I need to get my
was doing their own
timeline straight on this.
thing, man.
Maybe I'm wrong and I got the timelines wrong. I know the Warring States period lasted a good while, so, like... You know, maybe cowboys didn't last that long. Westward expansion was, like, pretty fast, so it could have just been a small blip towards the end of that timeline. But, either way, this is LA. So we know that the journey west has happened, and we've made it to a point where we're traveling across the fucking ocean to Japan. Like, this is pretty far along in America's development. But we've got... Los Angeles is where they're going, which is, I guess, is a fucking desert city. I don't know that they actually know what the fuck LA was like back then.
Yeah, I have a feeling they didn't know what LA was really like.
But also, it seems like from the shot going into the harbor, the detail of the boats makes me believe that this is like some historical otaku shit. Because they show all these boats in the harbor, and they're all unique, and they're all immaculately designed. And I was like, these are historical boats. This might be an accurate historical LA. There's trolleys going through and shit. Like, it felt like this is legit. The trains and everything. And the Japanese are so particular about historical boats and trains.
Yeah.
That, like, I feel like this might be getting into that territory of, like, historical indulgence. Items. But then there's clearly, like, cowboys and shit in the opening theme. It's quite confusing.
It's very bizarre.
It's all over the place. It's definitely seems like a love letter exploration of some historical culture, but also just an aesthetic clusterfuck of ideas.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell off the first episode because we haven't really gotten into what seems to be the plot of like Wacky Races, you know? We haven't gotten to Wacky Races at all. We just kind of got a character introduction for our two mains.
And how they got there.
Yeah, and how they got to America.
Yeah.
And so we're really just scratching the surface of what this plot could offer. I'm a little optimistic based on the sheer unique insanity that this offered, but I'm hesitant because I didn't feel like it was particularly well directed, and it has that confusing anime original vibe
That, like,
to it.
nebulous,
Yeah.
not quite sure what's happening.
Yeah.
Can't, like, you get the idea, but the details of how you got there are kind of fuzzy.
It's such an anime original thing to do, you know?
Yeah.
Anything that's based on a manga never feels this way. It's where, like, it appears as though the director of the show is also the composer as a series composition and the script writer, which I think that's where you tend to get these, like, clusterfuck ideas of kind of like, these aren't people who are natural writers. I don't know. That's a big assumption to make.
Yeah.
But it does feel odd. Like, maybe the aesthetics were developed first and the story developed later, you know? Like, they had this big idea of what they wanted to do, and then it's just kind of, like, thrown together.
And then there was a story crafted in service of wanting to draw historical boats.
Yeah.
It's very reminiscent of, I don't know if you ever watched the anime Oedo Rocket.
No.
It's very reminiscent to me of that in the way that, like, the character designs are really outlandish and colorful and, like, over the top, and it's, like, super wacky, but it's kind of like that by way of Dr. Stone, because Appare is very reminiscent of Senku.
Yeah, he is.
So it's, like, wacky racers with, like,
Yeah.
Dr. Stone.
I guess, like, if you were to compare this to Listeners, first episode-wise, Listeners also has that weird anime original vibe where you're not quite sure if it's going to end up going the right way you want it to, but it was clear what it was in the first episode. Like, it's going to be a kind of shonen coming-of-age mecha action show. And this one, I don't know at all what this is.
I didn't have that, like, weird, foggy sensation watching Listeners either, where I was kind of like...
Yeah.
How things are unfolding aren't clear.
I was drifting in and out a little bit.
It definitely lagged in the middle. You feel the full length of the runtime.
Definitely. Like, the eye catcher comes in, I'm like...
And you're like, it's only been, like, 13 minutes.
But it was over halfway. It was just, like, a weird spot where they put that eye
Was
catch.
it?
Yeah, it was definitely over halfway when that kicked in.
Alright.
But yeah, so, jury's out on this one.
I like the idea. I like the differentness of the character designs.
Yeah.
I like the basic concept of the story. I'm just worried about the execution.
Yeah. Definitely, we'll give it a few episode try for sure, because I'm very curious to see where it goes. As far as recommending watching episode 1, if you want something unique, I would definitely give it a shot. If you're in for sort of the curiosity element of it, and trying to see something that's kind of aesthetically new and different, and some weird ideas, but we'll definitely try to give a follow-up for, you know, if we end up enjoying it or dropping it. I think if we dropped it, it'd be fun to talk about why.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I'm hopeful in the second episode, now that we've established these two dudes, how they got here. It looks like we'll meet our third protagonist. It seems like maybe this character is, like, a Native American. So that's kind of interesting. Like,
yeah, he was a weird design.
I guess I've never seen that in anime before, and I'm hoping once we establish these characters and we get into the race, maybe that will be better.
I'm thinking it's like different people coming to LA from different countries.
Oh, for sure. There's like a Chinese girl. There's a European.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if they're British. These
Yeah.
two other, like, so these, this guy and this girl.
So if the core narrative of it is structured around this race and exploring the different characters going into it,
That could be neat.
that could be pretty cool. Yeah. if it's like Redline but like historical, and I could get like during that first cold open scene, I was really excited. Like I was smiling. I was like, man, this is bringing me joy. It's interesting. It's different. I'm ready for like a racing show that seems really fun. I didn't mind the CG cars. I think they're pretty
It's
silly
fine,
and
yeah.
funny. So I was getting hyped and excited off the beginning, but then it just like the backstory just left me in that like whoa, like I don't know what this is anymore. But you know, we also have a bright light shining on us, so maybe that adds to the delirium.
Maybe.
Anyways, I guess that's all my thoughts on that. Interesting.
Yeah, interesting.
That's our thumbnail right there. Put your hand out from the microphone. Put it up. Yeah.